contracts with the Indian Health Service. I will tell you that the Native Americans do not like Indian Health Service. They want to be part of their own. And if you think about it, if you really want to design a healthcare program, they're matriarchal in design and they're preventative based. The two premises that you have to have in reconstituting a healthcare scenario. With that being said, a lot of tribes have just started to do their own healthcare and not signing up with Indian Health Service, and that's backed by the U.S. Supreme Court. There are very few strings with that money that comes to them through the federal government, and they can turn people away. They are not bound by EMTALA. Okay, so those are going to be some judgment calls. I mean, those are the things that we're going to have to really look at. Part of the problems with EMTALA is that we have no primary docs. No, I mean, I can tell you, I'm one of those guys that's a dentist, and in the last 5 years, I've had to do more physicals as far as medical backgrounds before I actually do work than I've ever seen in the 20 years before that time. But people are using the hospital because it's the only place they can get care. So what when I'm looking at is we have to re-strengthen our primary docs, our first line of defense, and we have to pay them for the services that they're doing. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere with EMTALA. Because there has to be honest with you, a compassionate aspect of getting somebody out of pain. There has to be. I mean, we're a compassionate people. That's what we're built upon. So it's a fine line.
I think we have a question up front.
Yes, the day after the Obamacare passed, while we were all reeling from that fact, Obama started on businesses, attacking businesses, failing businesses. He wanted control of businesses. Well, that passed last week, and now he's attacking another area. He's a steamroller. He's going to run across our country. He's going to destroy everything we've ever known, and we've got to stop him, and I think we need to start here.
Well, I do believe they've got an agenda for the lame duck Congress, which will be comprehensive. And the best defense against that is an overwhelming victory in November, such that the moral outrage of trying to roll the people's voice would be so high that the Republicans in the Senate, who can stop anything, there are 41, and although we lost Collins and Snow on the $26 billion, that was money, not structural. I don't believe they would vote a structural change if the vote is big enough in November. And that's where the steamroller, they're done for the year. They can't get anything else done for the rest of the year. We are safe until November, but that lame duck is very, very scary.
He has an agenda. He's not even started yet.
Now, I know, that's why the Congress has got to change.
Paul, what is your position on anchor babies? Citizenship for anchor babies automatically.
Well, it was headlines today, and it's been something I've been talking about all along. Is the immigration issue is like you have to start unfolding this thing. Enforce laws, secure the border, continuous enforcement both on the federal border, state and local authorities, but also look at the benefits. And that's why I'm a supporter of the Birthright Citizenship Act that was introduced by Nathan Deal in the House, and now we're getting some traction with Lindsey Graham in the Senate. And that is that you have to have parents that are on the right track, either becoming citizen or legally here before a child is born into this country with the benefits of being a citizen. Kind of common sense. And if you look at the numbers today, they're appalling. Yeah. Then I hope you answered my question. Yeah.
Paul, our forefathers wanted citizen legislators, the candlestick baker, the bookie, not bookie, they didn't have bookies in those days, the brewmasters,
Really, I don't.
the farmers. But what's your viewpoint on term limits? Expound on that, if you will.
I'm not in favor of term limits, and here's a couple reasons why. I don't want the government taking away my freedom of choice on who I can vote for and why not. I think there's a difference between Congress and the president, and that is there's term limits on the presidents because of what we understand with tyranny. It's an executive branch, and there's a lot more reward, or there's a lot more abilities to hold this country in tyranny, frankly. Thirdly, I look at every single one of us, and part of our problem is with us. When times were fat and sassy, we gave away a lot of our rights. Term limits is active citizens involved in holding my feet and Kirkpatrick's feet to the fire. Not just that, but also to share that viewpoint with those around you. I look in this audience, and one of the things that we lost in this last election was our youth. Seriously, go back and see why. They get it. We just have to learn a new language with kids and understand why there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Term limits are you, and yours only. Last but not least, there's unintended consequences when you change this document. I'll bring up the 17th Amendment. Prior to the 17th Amendment, our senators came from our state house. There was a big tie to our state. And you look at some of the problems we now have in our, what I call our senior circuit, okay, the U.S. Senate. 5 years, you do whatever you want, and then that last year, you go ahead and campaign to try to get re-election. Whose agenda is it? Is it ours? Is it theirs? Or whose is it? So I'm not in favor of that. As far as I'm concerned, I've told plenty of people. I'm half French Basque, I'm half Slavic. You don't have to remind me twice. You hit me right here with a 2x4, I get the message. But I'm harder on myself than you are. I absolutely hate being redundant. If I can't get something done, you'll find me turning it over back to somebody else saying, hey, come in, let's take over. Hopefully I made a difference.
And I add that as well. I was a term limit supporter in California. It did not work. It has created chaos. It has penalized talent. It has led to a revolving door of mediocrity as people only pursue for 6 years the assembly, and as a result, it's taught a hard lesson. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Staff and the executive branch get all the power.
Hugh, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, because I've been listening